Hello and welcome back to What You Need to Know for Sound Operators. In this video, I am going to show you how to set up a scene for a Sunday morning service. Every single week, we have a different scene, and in each scene, we save all of the settings, all of the fader positions, and the preamps, and the EQs, and all the processing. We set all of these things up, and we save them in a scene. Right now, we are currently on the scene for this past Sunday, so I am going to just take the next slot, and I am going to create a new scene, and I'm going to save the scene as the date for the upcoming Sunday, which is going to be August 9th. Type that name in, that's the date for this next upcoming Sunday, and we hit apply. Now that creates the scene here, but we haven't actually saved the scene until we store. And then there's a little check mark that appears. Once we have the scene created and we have the scene stored, then there's this little play button icon that is still on the scene from last week. And that means that the soundboard is still using the previous scene from last week. So we select the scene that I just created for this next Sunday, and then we hit go, and then it goes to the next scene down. We just take this yellow dial right here and turn it back, and it will jump right back up to where we were. And now that play icon is on our Sunday morning scene. Now we can begin working, putting in all of our presets and everything. The first thing that we might do, let's just start over here on the input fader banks, and we will just set up the instruments that we're going to be using this Sunday. We're not going to be using a drum set this Sunday. It's an acoustic Sunday, so we'll just skip over layer A here. We'll go to the band instruments, and we're not going to have a bass guitar, so I'm going to pull that fader down. We're not going to have an electric guitar, so I'm going to pull that fader down. We are going to have keys, but it's just going to be our piano, so that's only keys 1. So we've got our acoustic guitar and we've got our piano. Those are the only instruments that we're going to use this Sunday. After that is the vocal mics layer. We'll go ahead and unmute those so that we know that those are all set up. I'm going to go ahead and touch my Vox 1 lead button over here. We are going to need to load in some presets for our singers. Now Ian is going to be singing Vox 1. He sang Vox 1 last week. Since we're using the scene from last week, we know that his channel is already set up for his voice, so we don't need to change anything on it. For Vox 2, I think we're going to have Natalie singing there, so we need to load a Vox singing preset onto this channel. We select the channel, we go to the Overview tab, and then we hit Library, and then we find the basic Vox input preset. We select it, and we hit Recall, and that has recalled that preset onto that channel, and that's just going to get us started. When she comes and she sings into that microphone, it's going to sound good enough to sound fine, but it's not going to sound perfect. When we hear her sing, then we can start to dial in the EQ to her voice a little bit better. We also are going to have a singer on Vox 3, Maya, so I'm going to do the same exact thing. First of all, select the channel, Vox 3, Overview tab, Library, and Basic Vox preset. It's already selected. I just hit Recall. So there's our singer's microphones taken care of, and remember, Vox 1 is already set up for Ian. He used it last week. He's using it this week. So that is all set up and ready to go already. Next, all of our other microphones. We've got our talkback microphones here, of course. We're probably not going to have anybody using any talkback microphones this Sunday, so I can just leave our talkbacks alone. We've got our MC and pastor microphones. Our pastor microphones need to be set up with our pastor's presets. So I'm going to select Pastor 1, and Pastor 1 is the microphone that our main preacher is using, but it could be Pastor 1 or Pastor 2. It doesn't matter. That's just how I keep track of it. So Pastor 1 is going to be Ross this week. So again, we go to the Overview tab, select the library, and in the library, we'll scroll down until we find Pastor Ross's input preset. We have that channel selected here, Pastor 1, so we hit Recall. Pastor 2 is going to be Carl this week. Carl is going to just do announcements. He has his own preset as well. So again, select Pastor 2, Overview, Library, and we have Pastor Carl's preset right there. We load it onto that pastor microphone right there. MC microphones, if I select MC1, we've got an MC mics preset as well. And then the last layer over here on bank 1 is layer F, our multi-tracks. We're not using multi-tracks this week, so I'm just going to take all these faders and pull them down. It's just an acoustic Sunday, so we have an acoustic guitar, we have a piano, we have our singer's microphones set up, and we have our Pastors microphones that we just set up as well. So now at this point, we can go to our scene and we can hit store to save everything that we just did on bank number 1 over here. On bank 2, we have all of our DCAs, and the only thing that I will do here is I will just pull down the DCAs for the instrument groups that we don't have. So we don't have drums, we don't have bass, we don't have tracks. I just pull them down so that visually they're not in the way, and it makes it easier to work with all of the other DCAs that we are using. Then on bank 3, the only things that I will do is I will make sure that our media fader from ProPresenter is all the way down, our music fader from Apple Music is all the way down, and you can use the mutes on here as well. Up next is layer B on bank 3, and so we're setting up our in-ear monitor channels now. Again, we've got 3 singers, Ian and Natalie and Maya. Ian is also playing acoustic guitar, and then we've got 1 keys player. That means we need 4 in-ear monitor channels. Let's just go ahead and make sure that we save again. So we're going to select our scene and we're going to hit store. In-ear monitor number 1 corresponds with Vox 1. In-ear monitor 2 corresponds with Vox 2. Although we could have Vox 1 be with IEM 6 and we could have Vox 2 with IEM 3. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. It's just that it doesn't really make sense to do it that way. Ian, who is using Vox 1 and is playing the acoustic guitar, he is going to use IEM 1. I usually hit select and mix both at the same time, and we need to load the preset for this in-ear monitor for Vox 1. We have select and mix selected so we can see the faders move over here when we load the preset. We have the overview tab selected. We open the library and then we scroll down until we find IEM Vox 1. And we hit recall. And then that moves all of the faders to the positions that they belong in this preset. One other minor thing that I will do, since we don't have any drums this week, I'll just take all of the drums out. And I have the mix selected for this channel. So we're not taking the drums out of the house mix. We're only taking the drums out of this IEM mix. We don't have bass. We don't have electric guitars. And we only have keys 1 and acoustic guitar. It's just going to make it a lot easier to make adjustments during the rehearsal time. If I don't have all of these other faders up, it just makes it a lot harder to work with. I just pull all the faders down that we are not using for this Sunday, and I'll leave up the faders that they are using. Now, since Ian is also playing acoustic guitar, he might need a little bit more of the acoustic guitar in his mix. So this is set to -10 dB. I might just bump that up preemptively to -7 so he can hear his voice and his guitar really clearly. And the only other thing that's there is the key, so he's going to have no problem hearing that. As far as the Vox mics, we don't have a Vox 4. It's not necessary to do this, of course, but I'm just doing it to make it easier on me later on during the rehearsal. Tracks, we don't have any tracks this week, so obviously we could take all of those down, and I could go ahead and store, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to move on to in-ear monitor number 2, and this is just going to be one of our singers, so we could just load Vox 2 and recall, and the same for IEM 3. We could go to Overview tab, Library, IEM Vox 3 preset, recall, and I do go ahead and pull out all the faders for all the instruments that are not being used, just because it is something that I find helpful for me to do, not because it's something that is important to do at all. It's just something that I like to do. So I'm going to take out all of the extra tracks that are not being used this week in these in-ear monitor mixes. In the end, all of our in-ear monitor mixes are going to have just a couple things. Our speaking microphones, our MCs and pastors, they're going to have our talkback microphones. They are going to have the singer's microphones, Vox 1, 2, and 3, and they are going to have acoustic guitar and keys 1. We also have a keys player that we have to set up an in-ear monitor for. Usually, since IEM 4 is stuck with Vox 4, I'm going to go ahead and not use IEM number 4 over here. I'm going to use IEM number 5 just for the sake of the convention that we have with those first 4 IEMs being with the 4 singers microphones. So IEM number 5, this is going to be our keys player. So we have the channel selected over here, and I also have the mix selected so I can see the faders move and I can adjust the faders after I load the preset. We go to the overview tab, open the library, and then we scroll up until we find IEM keys 1. We hit recall. We don't have Vox 4 this week. We don't have drums this week. I pull all of those out. We don't have keys 1 or keys 2. We don't have any electric guitars. We don't have bass guitar. And the only thing that's left is the tracks. So we don't have any tracks tracks either. All of our in-ear monitor channels are set up. 4 band members, 3 of them are singers, 1 keys player, 1 of our singers is playing the acoustic guitar. The only other thing over here is our mains outputs. We just want to make sure that those faders are up at 0. That is everything that I need to show you about setting up a scene. I am going to hit store one last time. That is everything that we need to do to set up a scene for Sunday morning. The band is going to come on Wednesday night, which is tomorrow, and they're going to rehearse, and I am going to use this scene, and all of these things that I have set up are going to be ready to go come rehearsal time.